How about you get over it?
So for those of you who don't follow Nick, he is on a crusade to make every comic book character Asian for fun and for spite, and I support him. But my beef is with the comment that he's responding to, which basically says, instead of lazily changing the race of a character, why don't you make new and unique characters? Which, in the limited space of a TikTok comment, using the phrase "how about" twice is very prudent and grammatically correct. But why aren't we allowed to lazily change the race of characters? Like, why can't we do that? It worked for these Chinese people, and this Chinese person, and this person from the Himalayas, and these Egyptians, and this Namibian, and this Palestinian, and the countless other non-fictional people who have also been race-swapped. I'm down to be lazy, since you're down to be lazy. This comment reads, "Don't forget the Prince of Persia featuring no Persian actors." My friend, how can I forget? Side note, my live video talking about all the problems that I have with Prince of Persia disappeared, so I'm going to start again here with the casting character. We'll start with our 3 princes of Persia. This is just Jake Gyllenhaal because the other 2 didn't make it into the Lego sets. Jake Gyllenhaal plays Dastan, which means story. Makes sense, the story's about him. Richard Coyle plays his older brother, Dus. I'm assuming that's named after the city that is most famous for its Dastan. Toby Kebbell plays his younger brother, Garsiv, which I'm assuming is short for Garsivez, a character from that very famous Dastan, whose only notable accomplishment is murdering a prince. Spoilers, I guess. Ronald Pickup plays their father, King Shahraman, which means King Merciful King. Good job, Disney, right up there with Mufasa. And of course we have all of our Jake Gyllenhaal flavored extras. And Gemma Arterton plays, I guess, the only named woman in the movie, Princess Thamina, who is the second prettiest Thamina, because the first prettiest is watching this video. Wink. She's not watching your stupid Lego video. She's a grown-up, okay? Now for some diversity, we have Sheikh Amr, who's Arab. You can tell because he's a stereotype, and he's played by our friend Alfred Molina, you know, Dr. Octopus. And his best friend, Ceso, played by Steve Toussaint. I would call him a stereotype, but his backstory is so self-contradictory that I don't know what he's a stereotype of. We also have our friend Ahsoka, played by Darwin Shah, who is a quarter Kashmiri, a quarter Afghan, and half British, so that's not nothing. And tied for last place, we have Claudio Pacifico playing just the worst caricature of a Nizari that I've ever seen, and Sir Ben Kingsley, who is actually half Nizari. Sir Ben Kingsley's dad is South Asian via the Swahili coast, like me, and Nizari, like me, so Ben Kingsley and I are both half Remtullah. You can tell by the nose. Sir Ben Kingsley plays Nizam, who I can only assume is supposed to be Nizam al-Mulk, based on his interactions with the assassins, which makes Gandhi over here the closest thing this movie has to historical accuracy. I'm not calling him Gandhi because he's brown. I'm calling him Gandhi because he played Gandhi and Gandhi. I hope that's clear. You know the old saying, a broken watch is right twice a day. Basically, if you don't know anything, you can still guess and get some things right. But I think Disney went out of their way to make sure they got everything 100% wrong. So kudos to them. As you can tell by my everything, I'm not the most Persian, so if somebody else wants to hop in and do this instead, please feel free. If I could turn back time, how would I recast the Prince of Persia movie? First off, I'm going to pick people who are familiar with an American audience, just because it's a Disney movie, and 2, I'm going to change some of the character names to make them a little bit better. Let's start off with our main character, Dastan. He's going to be Dominic Raines from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think audiences would complain if he replaced Jake Gyllenhaal. Also, I'm going to take away his name. He doesn't have a name in the video games. He doesn't need one in the movies. Next up is Princess Thamina. We got Nazneen Bondiari. She gets to keep her name because it's a nice name. Hi, Soup's mom. We saw her in Rings of Power. She can do drama, she can do action, she can do emotion. I think she's perfect for the role. Next up for Prince Tuss, we're going to go with Payman Mahdi. He's older, he's kinder, he's more regal. I think this guy can fit in. And we're going to change his name to Firdaus. It's the same reference as before, but now with a human name. Next up is Garsiv. This is probably the biggest change. I'm going to go with Omid Abtahi. He's from The Mandalorian, and in the movie, Garsiv is still learning and trying to find his place, and I think Omid can handle that. Also, we're going to change his name from Garsiv, which is the guy who kills the prince, to Siavosh, who is the prince that gets killed. Still spoilers. Is King Shahraman, which we're just going to change to Shah Rahman because duh. That's going to be Navid Negahban. He was distractingly Persian in Aladdin, but I like him and I want to give him another chance. And then his brother Nizam is going to be Shan Toob. Look at him, dude. Obviously. Rounding out the Persians with Ahsoka, I think we should go full Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and get Shan Devari. Also, Ahsoka is a South Asian name, so we're going to change him to Rostam. I know it's on the nose. Shut up, it's a Disney movie. Moving on to Sheikh Amr, I'm thinking Muhammad Amr. He was easily the best part of Black Adam, and I think he can be the comic relief in this movie too. His best friend Ceso is going to be Isaac de Bancole from Black Panther. He doesn't have to say a lot in this movie, but I'm changing a lot about his character. Instead of making him just a mix of African stereotypes, Isaac is from Cote d'Ivoire, so I will make him a Dan warrior, and his name is Dembo. Still on the nose, still Disney, but at least it's consistent. Then for the head of the assassins, I want to keep Ben Kingsley. I like him a whole bunch. And assuming this movie takes place at an actual point in history, he can just play whoever the leader of the assassins was at that time. My money is on Ghair Mirza, because that would be such a cool story. Now, obviously, I'm dumbing all this down for an American Disney movie, but what I would really love to see is an exploration of the Persianate world and mythology. Like, get everybody, from Central Asia all the way to Europe. Get all the Persians. If we're talking about the diversity of culture and language and storytelling that we see in what we call the Persian world, I'd love to see it on the big screen. It would be amazing. This comment reads, I mean, Ben Kingsley's father's family is from Gujarat. I think there's potential to write something that ties into that heritage, in reference to the Prince of Persia movie. And my friend, there is. Ben Kingsley's dad is from Nairobi and his grandfather is from Zanzibar, but originally they're from Gujarat, and they're part of a very specific religio-ethnicity, the Nizari Khojas. Now, the Prince of Persia movie also features these guys, who are a faction of Nizaris known as the Fidai, but historians call them the Hashashin. The movie calls these guys Hassansins because they suck at pronouncing stuff, named after the founder of the faction, Hassan Sabah. So these assassins lived and worked in Iran and Syria for about 200 years. And the leadership of the assassins, and thus the leadership of the Nizari religion, lived in and around Alamut between 1095 and 1256. Oh look, Alamut Castle. The Prince of Persia movie does not take place at a real time in history. There's too many historical contradictions to pinpoint a time. If the movie takes place between 1095 and 1881, that means that the leader of the Nizari religion was somewhere in Persia. And if the movie takes place after 1730, it means that the Nizaris of Gujarat, like Ben Kingsley's ancestors, would have been traveling to or moving to Persia to be closer to their leader. But if the movie takes place after 1256, it means the assassins aren't assassinating like they used to. Like I mentioned in a previous video, the Fidai still exist to this day, but they do humanitarian work. They don't assassinate people anymore. So to have someone like Ben Kingsley cast in this movie actually makes sense, it would have to be after the time of the assassins. When I was fan casting it for this movie, I was imagining Nizam going to the leader of the Nizaris in Persia and begging him to borrow an assassin, and the leader saying, no, we don't do that anymore. Depending on the specific time and the leader involved, the Nizaris may have been presenting publicly as Sufis, which surprisingly is also referenced in the Disney movie. What an obscure thing to get correct. In my version, Nizam blackmails the leader of the Nizaris and threatens to publicly out him and his followers, which would have gotten them genocided. Again. So the leader reluctantly lends him an assassin or two to carry out his dirty work, which technically didn't exist at the time, but would be cool for the movie. Young Nasty Man, in this previous video, I pointed to Alamut Castle, and you noticed Cinderella's castle. Makes sense, it's a lot bigger. But in the words of my friend Rafiki, look beyond what you see. Because yes, we have this giant Cinderella castle, and next to it, just a tiny Alamut Castle. But inside the gates of Alamut, there is another, smaller Cinderella castle.